with what's coming in for UCLA football and the schedule that lays out in front of them in 2024, I think there's reasons to be bullish about this UCLA defense coming up in this next season. I'll tell you why on Locked On UCLA.
You are Locked On UCLA, your daily podcast on the UCLA Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to this edition of the Locked On UCLA podcast. I'm your host, Zach Anderson-Yoxsimer. Thanks for making this show your first listen, first view each and every day. It's free wherever you get your podcast, and it's available on YouTube. Thanks for watching, subscribing, reviewing, commenting. Thanks for your support. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, where new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Go check it out at FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started, where we're going to jump right into it, talking this defensive side for UCLA football. Chip Kelly, the Bruins have to move on from what was that dreamlike state. That was 2023, where the Bruins could bank on a very solid defensive performance week in and week out, where large in part touchdowns were scored because UCLA coughed up the football, dropped it at the one, threw a pick six, whatever it may be. UCLA's defense was bent literally over backwards at times to keep the team, the opposition, whoever it may be, from scoring. And at some points, they just couldn't. And with the tweaks and the genius that was D'Anton Lynn, that is gone for now. That we move into the Ikaika Malloe, era with the new defensive coordinator. Why can they be bullish about this team? Why am I positive? I'm looking at this schedule, right? 24/7 Sports released a schedule about how there's about early ranked teams, 6 ranked teams potentially in the schedule. It's still so early. A lot of things developing with rosters in the portal, and how UCLA is one of the toughest schedules moving into the Big Ten. We're all disappointed with how Chip Kelly finished that season in 23. Rightfully so. I called for his job. Everybody generally associated with UCLA, a fan, anything, much closer to the situation than other national pundits, were calling for his job. But there's still a reason and hope for this team that they're slowly filling in those holes defensively. Are they going to be a complete defensive unit? Absolutely not. They're losing a lot, whether it comes from their defensive coordinator leaving, talent that's flipping, going pro. There's a lot that is going to be gone. But this team has a lot going for them schedule-wise in 2024. Now, am I going to come out right now and say they're going to win 9 games, 10 games, 11 games, compete for a Big Ten championship? No, I'm not going to say that. But there is reason for optimism, despite my outcry amongst many that Chip should have lost his job in last fall, early winter, when there's all the coaching craziness, right? Now that the best options are all gone. But reason for optimism. Let's take a look at this schedule, and then I'll get to who's coming in defensively for the Bruins, recruiting-wise. So UCLA's got a gauntlet, right? They got to go to LSU. They got to travel to Hawaii. The travel schedule alone is ridiculous in the first year of the Big Ten because they got to go to Rutgers. They got to go to Penn State, some of the further teams in the Big Ten. You still got to go play at Nebraska later in the year. You got to go play in some very tough environments to play this year, whereas a UCLA fan, it's great. Those will be some of the best fan experiences, large in part, whether it's at LSU or some of these Big Ten schools ever. Now, can they come away with a win? Can the defense specifically, what I'm focusing on here, have a better season? Well, I kind of outlined things for you guys to kind of put things into perspective, kind of take away the name value, take away who's coaching. All right, what is UCLA actually facing? Well, UCLA faces Oregon, Washington, and USC, the 3 Pac-12 holdovers moving to the Big Ten. The Bruins, in the revamped schedule, actually play all 3 of those teams in this next season. That's just how the schedule was reworked. Okay, we're scared. Basically, if there was a different college football playoff, Washington and Oregon would have both been in it. SC had a very dominant offense. Yada, 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 right? But let's look at Oregon, Washington, and SC. What do they all have in common? They're all losing quarterbacks. USC, Caleb Williams, going to the draft, projected number 1 pick. Michael Penix Jr. probably could have and should have won the Heisman in many arguments, took his team to the national championship game. He's gone. Oregon, losing Bo Nix, who very well was on the short list for one of the best players in the country these last couple of years in Eugene. He's gone. So that leaves you with SC. Of course, they were in contention for Will Howard, it probably looks like Miller Moss is the guy. I'm not saying he can't dominate. That's a quarterback that's getting replaced. Washington had, I believe, Will Rogers commit. And while Noah Fafita could potentially join Jed Fish in Washington, they're still going to replace a quarterback with a new coach after Kalen DeBoer gets hired at Alabama. Oregon, okay, they seem the most established at quarterback. They brought in Dylan Gabriel. They brought in Dante Moore. You got two quarterbacks who have played college football 1 year or more, and we can debate about Dante Moore. That's not what this episode's about. Still, that's a new system quarterback coming in, his third school. Dante trying to develop in this next year. Those are three teams that are replacing elite level quarterbacks. And while Oregon has an elite level quarterback to replace another elite level one, there's probably still going to be some hiccups there. My thought. Let's go down this LSU line, right? Because they're going to play them early on in the year, early-ish, right? All right, Jaden Daniels, Heisman winner. How do you replace a Heisman winner the next year, right? I mean, Nussmeier looked decent in the bowl game for LSU. Still, you're replacing a Heisman-level winner. Brian Kelly, right? He's going to try and replace the defense. He's going to try and fix the LSU defense. But we're not focused about UCLA's offense. They're going to take a step back. There's no way anybody's going to replicate the stat padding numbers of Jaden Daniels and the elite level talent that he brought to the table. Okay, that's 4 QBs that I haven't even brought up to a defensive topic right now of teams who are losing quarterbacks. You got Iowa on the schedule. I wrote on my notes, what offense, question mark next to Iowa. What offense? What offense? Obviously, that's a different topic and toughness for that game when you play in Iowa, because the offense has to score for the Bruins against that prolifically good Iowa defense that keeps them in every game and makes them a quote-unquote Big Ten contender year in and year out. What offense at Iowa? Okay, go to Nebraska. Are they going to start a freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola, who just committed late, right? I believe that's what's going to be happening. Are they going to be – Nebraska hasn't been Nebraska in a while. Are they going to be starting a freshman quarterback? What's their QB situation? Penn State. All right, Drew Aller. He's been there, right? He completed less than 50% of his passes 5 times in, right? 5 separate games, he had less than 50% of his passes completed in a game. That doesn't give me reason for optimism, although winning at Penn State is going to be extremely hard, and UCLA should be an underdog by close to 2 scores. The defense, are we afraid by that? Minnesota, their quarterback hit the portal and is going to Rutgers and needs to commit. So UCLA plays at Rutgers. That game will be tough. They're a rising program, but Minnesota only scored 20 points per game. An underachieving offense, wanting to replace their quarterback, and they were bowling because they had good grades. I think was one of the jokes, right, on the teleprompter when they described the game. Minnesota went bowling at 5-7 because there was not enough teams to be bowl eligible. That's what UCLA is playing. Indiana fired their coach 3 straight losing seasons. What are we thinking there? Rutgers, tough game, speaks for itself. Hawaii's quarterback was in the transfer portal and came back. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost half the schedule is replacing their quarterbacks. Another one's replacing their coach. 2 of them are replacing their coaches. And then you add in the Hawaii game. You've got the Fresno State game, hopefully wins against a couple of Mountain West hybrid Pac-12 teams now, I guess. And I haven't talked one lick about the defense, which does have some talent a little bit coming in the secondary. Hopefully some staying in the linebacking core with the likes of Medrano and more, if guys want to use their next year of eligibility. The Bruins trying to bring in some talent defensively, Pong and such on the D-line, Toia. And all of that, it makes me think, okay, this schedule is tough. The travel will be tremendously hard on these guys. But I believe in Ikaika Malloe's ability to get guys in. There's still plenty of opportunity to bring in more defensive talent. And just look down this list of games. You're telling me every single one of these teams is going to be figured out with their new quarterback and new coach this year. Even Rutgers bringing in a transferred QB, right? You're telling me and Iowa's replacing their offensive coordinator because they've just been in shambles the last so many years. Otherwise, they'd be a national championship contender. You're telling me every single one of these teams is going to have it figured out to run past a UCLA defense that, mind you, is losing a lot. But it would take an atrocious defense to get burned by every single one of these teams this upcoming season. Every single one. Oregon, LSU, USC, Washington, Minnesota. The list goes on just for this schedule. And they miss Michigan and Ohio State, I'm not telling you they're going to win 10 games. They could still lose. The offense might sputter. I still believe they're going to have a bounce back year. But let's pause and think. I'm not sure how bad the defense will be. And if they're that bad against this, then it's an atrocious defense and something's got to go bad. This is a schedule where when you really go down deep within, you look at these names, you kind of move everything aside and you're like, wait a minute. They're not going to put up the numbers they did in 23. No, they're not. But this team can still be serviceable, and that side of the football can help lead or hold off opponents just enough to let UCLA be competitive in these games. Because everybody's saying UCLA is going to win 2 or 3 games. Well, what's going on with all these teams? Still lots of roster decisions to happen. The Bruins announced quite a few guys coming to the team, including a guy we didn't even realize was on the radar, a boom from Ethan Young, after they announced, hey, who's coming in? Well, H.M. Pong officially signed. Brian Addison, which is key because he's a 7th-year guy, signed. And then you got a kicker. You bring in Busick over. And then all of a sudden, a sneaky Ramon Henderson coming over from Notre Dame. 3rd separate former Notre Dame Fighting Irish player to be a Bruin in this transfer class coming in. He's someone who's got experience as a DB. The Bruins are bringing in guys who have experience, who have played before. You got some talented youth with Dunbar Hawkins, with Benjamin, who hopefully can play a bit. They will need to play this year because there's no way the depth won't be tested in this 24 season through the gauntlet of travel, the cold weather, and the tougher schedule. Yes, but I still think that this team can absolutely make some noise defensively. They're not going to be putting up program best metrics, but they should be able to compete. If they don't, that's going to say a lot about Chip Kelly, about the coaching staff, and mostly about the players they recruited this year. That they're just depleted, absolutely depleted of talent. This is the telling season. The telling season. This is the toughest schedule imaginable. I think it's more manageable than what people are saying. I believe so. I'm a very positive person, despite me always yelling about Chip Kelly in the end of the 23 season. And they're bringing in guys. They're doing their best. If they can go swing and hit a home run in the portal and get 1 or 2 more guys that are just electric, or steal a couple of underrated guys that dominate, watch out. I trust Malloy's ability to go steal somebody via the portal, sneak in a very talented player, and bring him into UCLA, and all of a sudden guys can churn out results. That's all I'm saying. The outlook, positive. The offense is going to have to carry this team, but I think the defense can hold the Bruins in games. If not, based on what I just told you, that might be one of the worst UCLA defenses of all time. With all these teams replacing coaches, quarterbacks, everything, which is different in the transfer portal day and age. But this is a lot somewhat falling in UCLA's favor. In what's supposed to be the most impossible to compete in conference for the Bruins this year with their lack of financial flexibility. Maybe they're getting a gift, or maybe they're downright terrible and Chip Kelly will get fired in the 4th week of the season. Only time will tell, but hey, I just told you some interesting things. Speaking of interesting, was it not interesting that UCLA basketball somehow miraculously, or maybe not miraculously, when a team melts down on the other end, 4 technical fouls, the Bruins got the job done? Can that buoy them and push them forward for success? I'll tell you next about UCLA men's hoops on Locked On UCLA. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors, they've got you covered. With over 120 million plus parts for your number one ride or die, you'll find exactly what you're looking for with eBay Guaranteed Fit, because it's guaranteed to fit your ride or your money back. With eBay Motors, you're not burning cash. No. You're burning rubber. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that W. Bring that win home. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Okay. It's the start of the new year. Positions are being filled, whether it's be the coaching staff, whether it's roster guys coming through the portal and everything. But you're a small business. You're not like Chip Kelly trying to go through the havoc of the portal. Or maybe it feels like that if you're a small business, right? But the smart thing that'll take your business to the next level in 2024, if you're thinking about it, that New Year's resolution, LinkedIn Jobs, because your success depends on who you surround yourself with on the team. So LinkedIn Jobs helps use the tools. They've created tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's not just another job board. It's a vast network of over 1 billion professionals. Best place to hire because LinkedIn Jobs is rated number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors by small businesses. All you got to do is post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Okay, let's recap that madness that was ensuing in Tempe. Tempers flared, a large part from the Sun Devils living up to the mascot name. Yet Bobby Hurley lose his mind, mostly in the post-game presser. And usually the coach who goes a bit nutty during games. I see all your comments how everybody's like, Mick Cronin's got to be a bit nicer. Or, all these things. Bobby Hurley was just unhinged in his frustration that his team got called for flagrant foul, 4 technical fouls, and the Bruins in a hostile environment that got loud and rowdy late when Arizona State, despite everything, hit a late 3 in the final couple of minutes to go up 63-62. They came out to win in a game they have found so many ways to lose this season. So many ways. Mick Cronin has to be proud. He stated in his post-game comments, I've done enough as a coach. Maybe I've not won a national championship. He did not say this specifically. But he was saying he's done enough. I made it to a Final Four. He was alluding to the fact that he hasn't won a natty yet, even if he wasn't saying that specifically. I've done enough. I want these players to grow. Well, who's seen a lot of growth? Adem Bona, man, defensively NBA ready. If he can get the ball and turn into a premier offensive threat consistently without turning it over in the block or become a good passer, then the Bruins can all of a sudden flip a switch and get something going. Maybe you didn't see those couple of videos from what people were posting from practice. You know what's one thing I noticed from the one highlight clip you could see in 13 seconds of practice time, whether it's look at the LA Times, Bruin Report, you want to see what they were practicing on in prior to the Arizona State game, hitting the post and Bona passing out against the Arizona State hectic pressure, right, in the post, his double team, hitting Stefanovic in the corner for a 3. You knew who was red hot that game, hitting that corner 3? Stefanovic. He went 3 of 7 from 3. Not the most ridiculous total, but hit his first triple, hit another one late from the corner. And just that simple mini clip showing how UCLA executed a couple of times. That 6-point swing, UCLA in games decided between 6 points or less, 1 in 5 before the Arizona State game. Arizona State was the flipped record, 5-1. UCLA, if they're 10-7, 10-6, goodness, they're in the top 80, top 70 in the country. Just borderline, depending on who they beat, tournament team. You win those games 6 points or less. Even out in that Villanova game, because that was not a 9-point game. That was a much closer game than what the final score indicated. You win some of those games, you execute. That's how much it swings back and forth, the pendulum, back and forth for this UCLA team. Stefanovic, you score 15 points a game for the rest of the way, UCLA is not losing. I promise you. He will not score 15 points every time because teams are going to scout it, and UCLA will need a new player to step up every game. But if he continues to hit those couple of threes, 2 or 3 a game, a little more efficiently than he's had previously, all of a sudden, he's going to have a lot more positive moments as a Bruin, clutch dagger threes than the Bruins got. Sebastian Mack driving. Mick Cronin sat on to start the second half saying, I just need to calm him down. And all of a sudden, with everything spread out, he had some room to work with in the paint. Teams hadn't been clogging the paint. What we saw early from Mack was his ability to drive to the hole, get contact, throw up a wild layup, and get fouled. Before, he would maybe make a couple of those. This game, late against Arizona State, a couple of late buckets, get the lead, push the lead back out to 3 with a steal, 64-61 late for UCLA. Got to the line 8 times. That is his recipe for success. So 1, Stefanovic, making 3 of 8 from 3. 3 of 7. 3 of 6. That number gets better and better. All of a sudden, UCLA better off for it. Sebastian Mack, man, if he gets that tenacious 8-minute spurt he had, showcasing the good, the potential, then you can see how good UCLA can be to win these close games and just be a thorn, not only in the side for the Pac-12 teams, but moving forward. Adem Bon speaks for himself. Heart and hustle of the team. Berke, again, not too much shots, not too many impactful moments, only playing 22 minutes. But sometimes it's a Berke moment. This time it was a Brandon Williams moment. 13 points, 6 field goals for a guy who was 17. Mick Cronin will tell you, he was just a wee little lad not so long ago from New York, right? UCLA is getting big moments, getting better plays, better development from these guys. And Dylan Andrews, 4 assists. While the shot just isn't there at the moment, there will be a moment he's going to hit a big bucket like he did against Riverside. A pull-up this time, baseline jumper. You can see the development. UCLA didn't turn it over. They kept their cool. They hit 38%, close to it, 36% of their threes. For a team that is probably on pace to be the worst UCLA shooting team in history, at least from the three-point line since it's been in its development the last few decades, right, in basketball, that is a huge number. When I saw UCLA started trading threes with Arizona State, I was like, this is equally good and bad, because if the Bruins are making threes, that's a good thing, but they got to stop ASU from hitting contested J's from deep. And once that stopped, the Bruins got to the free throw line, and Arizona State meltdown at home. It makes this Arizona matchup very, very, very intriguing in Tucson. The last one's in the McKale Center. That's a different beast. They're going to come out full of energy. They're going to come out ready to knock you out, punch you in the mouth. The fans will. I'm not sure how much the players will understand it, but UCLA will understand once they get in the arena. It means business. As angry and as frustrated as Bobby Hurley was, hey, Tommy Lloyd, you bring in Caleb Love, the UCLA killer from a couple of years ago, the Sweet 16, UCLA, North Carolina. He's going to be chucking up crazy NBA awful, statistically taken shots and maybe knock in a few. The Bruins will have to weather the storm when they play the Wildcats in Tucson if they want to go shock the team. If you sweep this Arizona road trip, oh my goodness, this is one of the more stunning one-week turnarounds I would have ever seen. Losing from 50 points in Salt Lake City and then winning 3 in a row in a week span, that's something. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. It's the little things. I talked about the Bruins had to be ready, come out to play against Washington. They did so and they got the job done offensively. Kept their cool, showcasing the heart, beating Arizona State. Arizona, while they're not the number 1 team in the country, although as we've seen in college basketball when half the top 10 basically lost in the previous week, there is no top team in the country. Maybe it's UConn, the defending national champions, who are pretty good, but even they have a couple of losses and have showcased some vulnerability, losing by 15 to like Seton Hall, right? So there is some vulnerability from some of the top teams in the country this year. So UCLA, there is a world where UCLA can go beat Arizona. If you go through 30 billion simulations, there's only a couple you might see UCLA winning in them. And what's it going to take? Strong defensive effort, much better pressure that forces more than 6 turnovers, a similar attack from the three-point line where if you shoot 38%, that's much better from the Bruins. They might be in the game. And then 2, they have to find a way to get to the free throw line. I'm not sure how many whistles will be happening in Tucson, whether it's just the crazy fans yelling and whistling, hooping and hollering, but the Bruins are getting a couple whistles, and they can get to the free throw line on the road. That's a big ask in Tucson. They can go and shock some folks. I'm not sure they'll get too many whistles. They won't be – I don't think there will be combined 5 technical fouls. They've already played an emotional game. They get an extra day to rest, and I think they can compete. This game against Arizona will, I think, be closer than people realize. Will Arizona come out on top? That's the easy thing to say. Now can they come out and play with energy, score closer to 70? If UCLA scoring 50 points, I don't think they will be within 20 points. If UCLA is scoring closer to 68, 70, hopefully it will be a UCLA-style game like the Arizona State game. They can keep Arizona under 70, game on. If the Bruins are struggling to score 50, Arizona's going to blitz them by 30. That is going to be the big thing. Can the Bruins force more pressure, turn that into offense, hit a couple of big buckets, and get a couple of misses from Arizona? Because that is key for a UCLA shocking upset win for the third straight game. Go Bruins, baby. Go Bruins. Hopefully the turnaround continues, and they still, even if they beat Arizona, won't be 500. Wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? Moving on to UCLA women's hoops, they have an extremely tough matchup. They're in Boulder. They're taking on Colorado. Tickets are going to be tough to come by to the top 5 teams in the country. It's the first time Colorado has had a top 5 game anywhere, whether it be at home, neutral site, on the road, in women's basketball in their program's history. And they already blitzed the defending national champions on a neutral court on opening night and just took it to them. Their only loss is to a top 3-4 team in NC State away from home. So this is a very good Colorado team. The Bruins in danger of falling to 2 straight. But I'll tell you who the key players and more next on Locked On UCLA. All right. The NFL regular season's all wrapped up, but the playoffs are here. So you want to get in on the action while there's still time on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That is a killer deal right there. Look, $150 in bonus bucks, in bets in bonus bucks. Win or lose, because the app's super easy to use. You can bet in different ways. Check out the new Explore tab, and you can find bets there. Get the best ways to find popular bets on the FanDuel app. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. All right, final segment of Locked On UCLA Pod. Zach with you guys. Hey, this is a big time, big stretch for the UCLA women. Corey Close, the Bruins, coming off their first loss. You lose. You're playing one of the toughest schedules in the country in conference play. There's no doubt in my mind this is the toughest stretch any team will have to play that's not the NCAA tournament. You play at SC, you play at Colorado, and then you play at Utah. I'm not sure. I clearly have not looked at the rest, but there's nobody that's got a tougher 3-game stretch than that away from home in true road games, not just a neutral site game. You're telling me 3 straight road games that this UCLA team has to play, which was the dangerous part in mid-January that I circled for the women. Hey, at SC, they sold out the game. Juju came to play, got free throws. The Bruins fought but lost. It's expected to be a similar-like environment in Boulder. And can the Bruins come out on top against the Colorado team that's expecting a lot? They've already dominated LSU, who was last year's darlings in the national championship game after Caitlin Clark took her team to the finals, and then it was LSU just straight dominating, talking trash, everything. Even though they've had some trouble, that was a big statement by Colorado to go beat them down on opening night. Jaylyn, Sherrod, Aaronette Vonleh, those are going to be some key players for UCLA to stop. One, Sherrod's got a scoring ability and a great assist-to-turnover ratio, but it's their ability to force turnovers with 42 steals. You got to look for Sherrod to maybe pick the pocket of Kiki Rice if Rice can avoid the turnovers, right? What was the thing that killed UCLA's chances against SC? They turn it over like 20 times. You're not going to win a road game against a top 5 team in the country when you turn it over 20 times, right? You're just not going to do so. So for Sherrod, who's one of the high-level players, elite players on this Colorado roster, the big story is making sure she doesn't steal the ball away from Rice or whoever's bringing the ball up the floor if Kiki's in foul trouble like she was against SC. That is a key thing. The big battle in the post, Lauren Betts, who didn't start the game due to an illness, didn't dominate like she could, and the Bruins couldn't truly feed her in the post like normal. If she has an off game, Aaronette Vonleh, who's got 15 points per game, can block shots, has 30 assists, the center, even Lauren Betts, that is a big post battle. UCLA must win the post battle. One, not turn it over, leading to transition buckets for Colorado for a team that averages 80. And if UCLA can win points in the paint and at least be close in it, then they can be in this game on the road. Maddie Nolan, that's the transfer that Colorado got. That's their current transfer, who is hitting 41% of her threes. You could kind of look at her and London Jones and see whoever has a better game shooting from 3 will pace the offense. I think this game might be defined more by what happens in the paint. But Maddie Nolan, who has had a big impact, maybe not a Lauren Betts size impact on UCLA's team, but she has been a sneaky big addition for Colorado. And then Quay Miller, who's about to have 4 straight double-doubles. If she can continue, or she has had 3 straight, looking for her 4th straight if she does so against the Bruins on Friday, right? So will the Stars show up and play? Probably. These are 2 teams that are high-flying offensively. Will it be a high-scoring game or a low-scoring game? I think a higher-scoring game, ironically enough, favors UCLA. That means they're getting and hitting threes, they're getting layups, they're stealing the ball, and they're not being pressured by Colorado's defense. If it's a lower-scoring game, it's on the road, I think that favors Colorado because that means they've mucked it up. There's a lot of whistles like there were in the SC game, and the Bruins have turned it over and looked sloppy, which they have not done other than one game this year, and they still had a chance to make it a 1-bucket game down the stretch. So 1, dominate points in the paint. 2, make sure you don't turn it over and let Sherrod go be like a burglar on the floor, ripping it from Kiki Rice and leading that to transition points. Higher scoring, I think, favors the Bruins in this game. Even if it's a higher back and forth, 82, 80, if it's something ridiculously entertaining, I believe that favors UCLA in this game. But only time will tell, and I can't wait for UCLA. All right, it's a big game. Then you got the Utah game on the Monday night. That is a tough weekend with the Mountain Schools. A win, I think, is a big statement, a huge statement for UCLA. A week off, stewing against the USC game, which the Trojans truly wanted to smack the Bruins after what happened in late December. You come out and make another statement, UCLA could jump back to number 2 in a week. You sweep those 2 mountain schools, and for some reason South Carolina gets upset, UCLA could be number 1, jump up all these crazy spots. If the Bruins get the job done. This is the Colorado team that just beat Stanford by double figures. And Stanford was about to get love a week ago. It's a very good team. A good scoring effort favors UCLA. Let the Stars shine. And the ball don't lie. We'll find out. Can't wait for UCLA. Do I think they'll win? Man, I have no idea. This will be a tough environment. But I can't wait for Friday night to come to see how the Bruins get the job done. In the meantime, we talk next on Locked On UCLA. We'll get into deeper, more official keys for, 1, UCLA hoops against Arizona. Not just some fluff here. We're going to get some real keys for UCLA to try and beat Arizona in Tucson. Go back, relive the memories of McKale of old, and we'll talk some UCLA football as well. Because, hey, recruits are coming in. What can they still get? What can make their team better for in 2024? All right? Hands up, Bruins fans. 8 clap time, baby. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. UCLA. UCLA fight. This has been Locked On UCLA. Zach signing off. Go Bruins.